Greetings, you brave adventurers! My name is FoxyBard, and welcome to Horror Story, Saturday. Sorry, we're late again. This week really threw me off. I apologize on that one. But Horror Story days are when I tell you, horror stories. Some incidents that are less than great in RPGs. And I have a couple for you today. There's something. So, without any further ado, grab yourselves a seat around the fire as we dig in to these stories of role-playing. Our first story today comes to us from the user Mr. Tricorder. I believe I've read one of theirs before. It's entitled, oh no, I'm gonna have the German speakers coming after me again. Oh, Schrodinger's do. And this is a concept that exists outside of RPGs too. Have you ever met one of those guys who says something horrible, and then all of a sudden, whenever someone gets mad about it, they're like, oh, come on, it was just a joke. That is Schrodinger's do. Tale start. TLDR. Online troll tries to kick off with a disability joke, fails horribly, then tries to hog the spotlight with this failed joke, ultimately trolls players until they leave the server mid-session. Off to just a fantastic start. Oh. The cast. One GM out of his depth. Carl, Schrodinger's do. Lena, a player I know from a different game. And the rest of the table, including me. This was an online game of Coriolis. Oh, what's that? Hang on, let me Google it really quick. Oh, neat. It's a sci-fi RPG where you take place in outer space. It's an appropriate name. The GM did a session 0 with 3 players that seemed decent. But between session 0 and session 1, he invited 2 more players, including Carl. So we first met him during session 1. Wait, am I doing this bit again? First contact. My character had slight disability due to prior injuries. With the help of cyberware, he was managing, though. Nothing out of the ordinary for a character in a universe with wares, so I thought. It was mostly fluff. My character was intended to be the group's face. So when I first met Carl, I described my character with heavy scarring, visible chrome, and his walk was a bit uncoordinated. First thing Carl does is laughing out loud as he jumps on the opportunity to throw in a couple of disability jokes. No one bites, though, just awkward silence. The GM tried to defuse the situation by changing the topic, so our quest giver went through a quick introduction to highlight the reason I was hired. Negotiations were ahead, but Carl wasn't letting this gold mine go. So he went on with off comments ridiculing the character, especially asking the quest giver if a refund of the defective product was still possible. Well, I wasn't having it, so in character I told him to cut the crap and show a little respect to fellow crewmates. And out of character, I told him to cut it as well. We don't share this kind of humor. The rest of the voice chat just kept silent. Carl tried to brush that off by mentioning that it was only a joke and we need to lighten up. I've heard that a million times. I still think it's funny, okay? Landfall. The game moved on a little. We traveled and landed in some far-off settlement. The GM described how the mayor greeted us, accompanied by some pretty girls. 2 sentences into the description, it was obvious. The mayor was expecting someone else, and he was a bootlicker, intent on using the girls to woo his expected guest. Carl immediately threw a fit at the GM. He demanded that the mayor has boys with him as well, and went on how this isn't a truly inclusive game if boys can't be part of the wooing as well. Lena told him it's probably because the person he's expecting is interested in girls. But Carl just went on telling the GM that if we needed a fair representation of, I'm not gonna say it, in space, then there need to be fair representation of all sexualities in space. So this was still about my character. Great. The sad thing is, he genuinely thought he was clever and funny. They always do. Sadder even, the GM didn't resist this BS at all, and just like that, the GM apologized and put a selection of girls and boy, trans and not trans, into the scene to stop this madness. While laughing at the GM, Carl proclaimed to have fabricated a gotcha moment. It's all fun and games, right? Lena didn't think so. She excused herself and left the server. To be honest, I should have followed and spared myself the rest. Hang on, it gets worse. Clones. Carl was prodding the GM how exactly the townsfolk were looking. The GM answered, "They're regular corporate folk. They look just like you." Oh no. Oh no. Oh no! Another gold mine for Carl. He escalated the scene into a whole act about how the corporation used his genes to make clones, and even went so far as to dress them up as girls. Of course, the table tried to intervene and tell him it's just a phrase, they're not clones. But the GM kept silent for the next 10 to 15 minutes or so, and Carl states he's not gonna stop. The GM said what he said. The next player left. Amused by stirring up a fuss, Carl escalated further. Now he was going to rile up his clones to rebel against the corporation. Okay, so on the one hand, eat the rich, down with capitalism. On the other hand, come on. Sadly, the GM didn't shut Carl down. Instead, he tried to sideline Carl and asked the other remaining player and me what we want to do next. Just ignoring Carl wasn't gonna help, though. To regain the attention, he started joking about how the character was going to take a walk around the town. Yeah, hard pass. That's where I left. Don't know what happened to them after that. Tail end. So just to clear one thing up, I myself am disabled. I have multiple sclerosis, and it does impact how I go about doing anything physical or active in my daily life, and that is why I didn't want to say it. Just to keep us on the same page. But yeah, anyway, Carl is awful, and guys like him are so common. They think they're being clever and funny, and they're laughing, but as soon as anyone else says, "Dude, that's not cool," they immediately shift to, "Oh, but it was just a joke." And whether or not it was only a joke is dependent on if anyone agreed with them. Because I can guarantee you, if everyone had agreed with Carl on what he said, he would not have backed down on it and said it was just a joke. The GM just enabling this and not shutting it down is also very much at fault here. Either he did implicitly agree with what Carl was saying, or he just didn't know how to confront that kind of behavior. Which, it's actually very simple. You tell them to stop or leave the table. It's surprisingly easy to do. And really, Lena was the smart one here. She got out early. Yeah. I actually can't stand people who try to use the language of inclusivity just to push their own straw man of disadvantaged people. It's awful. Moving on. Our next story comes to us from the user, I'm gonna try, Mattiat98, and it's entitled, DM refuses alignment shift because, in real life, no one gets better. He gets the edgelord voice because that is an incredibly edgy opinion. That also tells you pretty much everything you need to know going into this story. Tale, start. I usually play good aligned characters. So after my last character in my usual game died, revived, and wanted to retire, I wanted to mix things up a bit. So, as a replacement character, I decided to roll up a chaotic, evil tiefling rogue. Of course, I didn't want to be that guy, so I created a character that would still be able to play well with the party. The character was a former general of the BBEG, a powerful demon, who had defected and held key information that the party needed, but refused to give it up until the party helped him with his goals. The DM liked the idea, approved the character, and off we went. The party, of course, had some friction with the character at first, obviously distrusting him and his methods, but realized that they needed him, so, with no little amount of friction, decided to play along. As the story progressed, a tenuous alliance was formed, and, even if they did not trust him, the other characters came to trust that he was smart enough to realize that they mutually needed each other. Slowly, the party saw that the enemy's side was more human than they thought, and the rogue started to see that maybe he didn't need to be ruthless to get ahead in life. This evolution came to its climax in a big battle against one of the BBEG's lieutenants, another powerful demon. Things weren't going great, and at one point, only my rogue remained standing. He had a clear escape path, and the lieutenant was busy finishing off the other party members. After seriously considering saving his own hide, he instead chose to bonus action dash and eat an opportunity attack to get to the cleric and feed him a superior healing potion. A mass cure wounds later, the tide of battle turned, and the party emerged victorious. But not before the lieutenant managed to kill off my character. The party discussed what to do for a bit, and finally, the cleric decided to bring me back. And that is where things turned south. Well, it's unfortunate. This was a really good story so far. Seeing how my character had grown through the months, I turned to the DM and said, "I would like to shift my alignment from chaotic evil to chaotic neutral. Would you be okay with that?" The DM looked at me like I had insulted their ancestors and their descendants in a single sentence. He said, "Absolutely not. In fact, cleric, your alignment shifts from neutral good to true neutral." The party got really tense before suddenly another player interjected, "What the fox, dude? If anything, it makes much more sense for rogue to shift their alignment." And the whole table was agreeing, but the DM would not have it. "No, it wouldn't. There is no such thing as alignment shifting towards good or lawful. People only get worse and more corrupted through life. Never better. This is a realistic game, not a fairy tale, and no one in real life becomes good after going evil. They just keep spiraling into evil. Cleric, you saved a clearly evil person. You're directly enabling evil." Does that kind of sound like Batman? That kind of sounds like Batman. After the whole party spoke up against the cleric's alignment shift, the DM finally gave, and we decided to just keep playing with no shifts whatsoever. But the session became tense afterwards, and we called it in early. The chat was silent for a while, but the DM just texted that this week's session is cancelled, and that he needs some extra time to prepare. I'm thinking about either asking him to retire this character and roll a new one, or just leave the game altogether, but my other players have texted me to say that I'm in the right, and that the DM was being unreasonable. What do you guys think? Tail end. So, what do you all think? I'm gonna give my thoughts, of course, but please do let me know what you think, because OP is asking for an answer. In fact, go to the Reddit post and give them that answer. It'll be nice. Plus, hey, karma. Everybody loves Reddit karma. Right, so this is how you play evil correctly in a party that is otherwise good. You have good reasons to work together, you work things out with the DM beforehand, and you're perfectly willing to accept that your character could be redeemed. Like, this DM is full of crap. Redemption arcs are literally one of the most popular stories out there. And for good reason. The edgy voice for this DM, super appropriate, definitely the right call, even if it sort of hurt my throat a little bit.
But that's the price you pay for sounding like Batman, only edgier.
Yeah, we're not doing that one again. Short version, OP, you're in the right. DM is being weird, wrong, and controlling. And that is the end of the stories I have for you this week. Don't forget to like the video if you liked the video. You know what? I'm actually going to mix this up a little bit. So please press like, and I will like you. If you subscribe, then I'll like you too. And ring the bell if you like to know when I upload a new video. The comments are the best place to leave me your thoughts, and I'll see that face. Alright, I'm losing the rhyme. It's fine. I was doing okay. That was actually ad-libbed from the start. But yeah, let me know your comments in the comment section. It's what it's for. Also, keep in mind, there is the FoxyBard Discord server. Link to that is in the description. And now it's time for me to shower love, adoration, and praise upon my patrons over on patreon.com/FoxyBard. Let's go alphabetical today. Critical Kunik, Sylvia, Sintaria, Tegan Longtail, ZeroFang881, and Zorolo. He's like Zorro, except if you add Rolo's candies. I love and appreciate you all so much. I love you all as much as I love Pathfinder 1st Edition. And that should be saying something. I'm getting a little bit sappy, should probably close it up. So let's go ahead and douse the fire and get back to our own adventures.